Hi, my name is Pouria Nazemi. I am an MA student at the Department of Journalism in the Concordia University and also freelance science journalist. I came in Montreal about 10 years ago, and in the last 10 years actually I'm thinking about the Montreal very much, and lots of time I'm thinking about this city, what this city representing to me. Before I immigrated into the Canada and become a Montrealer, I was worried about what this new city actually could mean for a person like me who come from the country like Iran with a very old culture, with a very old society and tradition. And I was worried actually that in the new city I become a stranger in a stranger land. But somehow something amazing happened during the last 10 years. Montreal becomes some kind of the home that I always wanted to be in there, but I never realized that existed somewhere in the world. So in the last 10 years, I was thinking about this city. What makes Montreal the city that transfers such a feeling to a person like me? And when I read about the history of this city, I realized that this city has a rich tradition and history based on the storytelling and based on the negotiation and the dialogue between the different peoples. Even the name of the city in the First Nation language translated in the places that the rivers and the nations gather and talk to each other. There is a saying that there is a part of the history that before the colonial time and during the First Nation time, this city or the place that later this city built upon that was the place that the different different tribes of the First Nation gather together, share their stories, share their thinking, and talk to each other, made a dialogue. And I think that somehow this tradition of talking and storytelling and gathering and exchange the ideas from the different background is still alive somehow in the Montreal. In the last 10 years, Montreal, at least for me, become more than a city, just a city that constructed with the buildings and roads and infrastructure. There is something more, at least the way that I look at the city, in this concept of the Montreal. Different people from the different corners of the world gather here, talking to each other, and somehow in this place they can become Montrealer without losing their roots. They can, like a tree, they can grow their branches and they can reach to the suns and reach to the lights without losing the ability to drinking from the water of their heritage and their culture and their background from their roots. And this is magnificent story of this city. And when I was thinking about my project and this proposal of project, and I remember that where I come from Iran, we have a very rich tradition of storytelling. One of the world's most probably famous storyteller is originally from Iran. There is a book in Iran known as the Hezar Afsan, or 1000 fairy tales. You probably familiar with this book with the other name of that, Arabian Nights or 1001 Nights. This book during the history actually get the shape of the new narrators, and like a living creature evolved during this time. But in the main story, this book, these thousands of fairy tales, is a story of a heroine named Shahrazad. Shahrazad is a princess in the ancient Iran during the ruling of a very cruel king in that time. According to the story, that cruel and kind of sadistic king used to wed with the new young girl every night, and at the dawn he killed that girl. Shahrzad, coming from the noble family, volunteered to be the next hobby of this king. And at the first night, she started to tell a story to this king. And using all the technique of storytelling at the dawn when the suns come up, she reached to the turning point of the story and then tell the king, okay, if you want to hear rest of the story, I will tell you the next night. The king decided that gave her another day to living to complete her story. The second night, Shahrzad completed the first story, but before the dawn come, before the sun rising again, she started the second story. And this process go over and over and over for 1,000 nights. Shahrzad, by this virtue, not just saving herself, but saving all the women which could be killed or sacrificed during those 1,000 years, more than that, 1,000 nights. And more than that, by choosing the story of different people from the different corner of the known worlds of those time and bring the essential and the soul of each story to the king, she started the process to transform this king. At the end of the 1,000th night, that sadistic, that cruel king become a wise, kind, and caring king for the people. The kingdom flourished by the new form of the king who changed by these stories. And Shahrzad, actually, by telling the story of different people from different origin, from different parts of the world, not only saved at least 1,000 people, but make the king a better person, make king, a real king, a wise king, and change their world, literally, by changing the ruler of those times. So, in this project, I propose that I'm going to bring the Shahrzad to this place of the gathering of the nations. I'm going to create a series of podcasts, and each of the episode I'm going to find a person with a different background in the city and ask he or she to tell her story, to tell the folklores, the old stories that is still alive with them, that they still tell those stories to their children. And also, during this storytelling, I will tell you the story of the storyteller. So, this could be a virtual fireplace, a virtual gathering place. So, all of us who created this beautiful, chaotic, but harmonic concept of the Montreal come together, gather together, and listen again to these stories from all around the world and find out how we can find an identity like, for example, a Montrealer without losing our roots, and how during this negotiation between different culture and different background under one sky, under one roof, we create something amazing that now we know it as our home, the city of Montreal, the place of the dialogue and place of the gathering of the nations. So if you like this idea, please consider to vote to this proposal. Thank you so much.